Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the In Between the Stitches podcast. I'm your host, Brady Wilson. Without my co-host, Chase Olschwinger, he is not to my right. He's not to my left. Today, he will be out of studio. We will be contacting him for NFL predictions at the end of the show, but currently today we do not have. And I'm hearing like some type of nope. I'm hearing something. Is anyone else hearing that? Like it sounds like sand. Maybe it's just coming in through my ears, but like I definitely hear something that does not sound right. I can't like pinpoint it. Chase, I don't know if you're watching. Whoever's watching, can you put it in the comments whether or not you can hear this kind of like fuzzy noise? It's whenever I talk. Like I hear something. It sounds like a swoosh almost. I'm going to continue talking. Obviously, still September. Not much with the. Don't hear anything on our end. No. Okay, cool. Hey, Dad. Hey, Chase. Cool. It just does on my end. I'll just power through. Again, nothing with the Stars. Nothing with the Mavericks. We're still waiting on kind of preseason stuff. To get started, I think the Stars, they had I think they had their media day, and there's Jamie Benn with the C, and they're still going with Sagan, and Miro as the assistant captains with the A on their chest. But I think Jim Nill and Glenn Lutz, on the new head coach, did mention that like Mikko Rantanen will get, will get kind of more of a, he will be taking more of a leadership role as well. But I think they just wanted to stick with their guys with the letters on their sweaters. Mavs, Chase, unless you have anything you can put in the chat, I can't think of anything that is relevant that's happening right now. It sounds like the Clippers got caught giving more money to Kawhi through that, and I can't remember the name of it, but the company that it sounds like was pretty much set up to give Kawhi extra money to circumvent the salary cap. But really, the two biggest stories right now for DFW sports fans, and it pains me to say this, and it does. It really hurts to say what I'm about to say, but ladies and gentlemen, I think our season's over for the Rangers. You got 9 games left. You are 5 back of the division. You are 4.5 out of the third wild card spot. Boston and Seattle are tied with the same record, so you're 4.5 back from the second and third. Cleveland is 2 games out, so you're 2.5 back of them. You had an opportunity to win those games, especially the second one. And, we talked about, for the Rangers, just win one. Right? Me and Chase sat here last week before that Met series and said, hey, just, take 2 or 3 from the Mets, and you'd like 2 or 3 from the Astros, but if you can just take one, you'll lose a game, but at least you had the silver boot, right? Which means if you tied the end of the season, you and the Astros, unlike 23 where they had the tiebreaker, you did the tiebreaker. And we talked about that, and I felt pretty confident that we were going to be able to win. And you took 2 or 3 from the Mets. You did them. The first game, you kicked Jonah Tong's butt. And then the second game, you had to come back. And then the third game, you had a chance and, get extras. And then you just can't, you can't find it. And it happens. Hey. I love how Luis Carvalho went from like, oh, wow, he's really, really good, to a AAA reliever that shouldn't be up. It's really funny how Rangers fans are. But you go into Houston, and we didn't have a chance to really preview the series because we didn't know who was going to be starting in those games. We figured out that the Rangers were going to get Merrill and DeGrom in that series, and Leiter. But we weren't sure about Framber and Hunter Brown, which are the 2 horses that Houston has. And I called my dad, after game 1, and I told him what my thoughts were before game 1, which was, you feel really good going into this series. There's so many positives for the Rangers. You're coming off of a series where you just took 2 or 3 from New York, in New York. You're going to have Jacob DeGrom and Merrill Kelly, arguably your best pitcher, and your trade deadline acquisition, kind of the prize of your trade deadline. And, the young kid, Jack Leiter, who been up and down, but you felt like, hey, he gives you a chance to win. The Astros were starting two guys that I'd never heard of, and Christian Javier, of course. And we talked about it, and the thought process was, you can win one of these games. You can win one. The one that was circled for me was second game, Merrill Kelly. Because you weren't going to face Javier, you're going to face, blue ball? Some guy I'd never heard of. And you did not do what you had to do. That did not happen. And that really sucks because you really, really, really needed to take one of those games, and you didn't. And that really sucks for the Rangers. By the way, I figured out the thing. One of the mics there was like some kind of like fuzzy feedback coming through, which is why. So I was tinkering with it over here, and I figured out. So it was bothering me because every time I talk, I can hear this thing and it doesn't sound good. But you just needed one, and you couldn't get that done. You don't deserve to be a playoff team. It was pathetic to watch what the Rangers did in Houston. Against a team that's not as good as you are. Even with our injured state that we're in right now, that team is not better than we are. And you just had to win one. And you couldn't do that. I'm hurt as a Rangers fan because I thought that, this team could get in the playoffs, especially of late. And it's been a roller coaster season, especially it's been a roller coaster second half. First half just sucked. Second half has been marred by injuries, but also a week where you dominate, then a week where you suck, and then 2 weeks where you dominate, then another week where you suck. And it's just been like, there's been at least like 3 or 4 points this year where I'm like, oh, season's over. And then they win, 16 of 20, and I'm thinking, oh, we're back. Here we go. And you played in what was essentially a playoff series in Houston, and you lost with your two best pitchers. People are like, DeGrom is washed. No, I think DeGrom's tired. He hasn't thrown this many innings, I think, since 2019. I don't know how many he threw in 2021 or 2022. I don't think he threw a lot. He's tired. He hasn't thrown this many innings. His arm is fatigued. They've only skipped, I think, a couple of starts for him this year. They haven't managed him as much as I thought they were going to manage him. He's thrown 167 and 2/3 innings this season, and that includes the Houston start. It's logged on Baseball Reference. The last time he threw that many innings was 2019 when he threw 204. Here are his innings counts. Now, I'm not going to count 2020 because 2020, he actually had a full healthy season because 12 starts. But starting in 2021, he threw 92 innings, then 64 and a third, then 30 and a third, then 10 and 2/3 last season. 30 and a third his first year here. That was 6 starts. I don't think they're going to start him again this season. Unless they sweep the Twins and the Guardians get swept and at this point, who are you rooting against? I assume we're rooting against the Mariners again because this is and I kept telling my dad, we don't need to root against the Mariners. If they can win the division and we can just beat Houston, Seattle gets in, we get in, Houston's out, I'm happy. But now we're back to rooting not for Houston, we're back to rooting for Seattle to lose because they're now the team you're chasing. And I don't want to, and Seth, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry, I don't want to root for Boston to lose, but if they got to be sacrificed for my team, sorry, I'll sacrifice them. The only way I think they start DeGrom again is if you sweep Minnesota. You take the first 2 from Miami, right? You've won 5 straight. You're back in the playoff picture. The season's not over, but it feels like it.
it feels like the season's over. Now, they could win 9 straight and get in. But conversely, they could win 9 straight and not get in because they're not in control of their own destiny. They're 4.5 out of Seattle. And I'll just focus on Seattle right now. I won't focus on Boston. Because I think Boston has a better chance of getting in than Seattle. And yeah, I think they have a better team.
DeGrom would only make one more start because 9 games, you've got 5 starters, right? If you start DeGrom as like the 5th guy, right now, he was the last one to go, so you're starting over, right? It would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DeGrom, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 DeGrom wouldn't go. 29 starts, though, is a hell of a year. ERA just a shade over 3 at 3.01, but we all kind of know that kind of got inflated from that last game where he wasn't very good. It just sucks. It sucks because you felt like, and we actually have some breaking news here. I don't know if anyone watching has heard this yet, but if you're on your phones, yep, my dad is texting me now. Not texting me, he's putting in the chat. Sorry, I didn't have the chat pulled up. I was looking up stats. Clayton Kershaw is going to retire. 3-time Cy Young winner, 11-time All-Star. This is his last season. So we're losing another great one. That sucks. But we all kind of suspected it, especially at the All-Star game, the way he went out. The way that he kind of went out. Kind of felt like because people were like, the Kershaw got in over Sanchez and those guys. Well, that's why he got in, because we all kind of suspected this would be his last season. So, but back to the utter disappointment of the Texas Rangers. You just had to win one. You just had to win one of those games. And as Chase has reminded me, Jordan, nasty, sprained ankle in the first game. They're without their best hitter. Like, you can't beat these guys once. Even if we had lost 2, I'd have felt, you know what, you took the one you needed, okay, fine. And you couldn't do that. This was statistically and it's just, it makes so much sense for the Rangers that guess what series this season, 3 or 4 games, the Rangers starting pitchers had the highest ERA. This one. This was the most runs that Rangers starters had given up in any series all season. And it happened to be the one in September. You had to win 1 game. Barring a sports miracle, barring a cataclysmic collapse of not just one team, but 2 teams, because you'd need Cleveland to lose 2, because if they keep winning, they'll get in. You're not even the first team out now. That's how bad this series was, how important this series was. You went from a few games above Cleveland to now 2.5 back of Cleveland. That's just sad. That is just utterly, utterly sad that you are not in control of your own destiny in terms of being the first team out, let alone, as Jim Mora would say, playoffs. Talking about playoffs? We just need to win a game. So, Rangers fans, we're starving for some good news. Here's the good news. You've got 9 more games. 6 of them are at home. You've been better at home than on the road this year. That's good news. Those 6 games you're playing are against teams that are both sub 500. Twins are historical fire sale at the deadline, and then, they're just bad. With our luck, we'll face Joe Ryan then one of the games. And the Marlins, who've been kind of a weird team this year. They've had moments over, I think they got like back to 500, and it was like, whoa, and then they've just kind of fallen back down to earth. But a decent team. You know, they're a little scary, but you should handle them. And then your final series is against Cleveland. So let's pretend that Seattle just collapses, loses 6 of their next 9 games. You sweep the Twins and the Marlins. Let's just go full good news for a second, okay? And let's say that the Guardians also win, but not as much as you. And let's say that you're tied going into that final series. You are in control of your destiny in that regard. The one team ahead of you for that first team out is a team that you're going to face on the road, but you're going to face them. And if the rotation holds, doing my best math, you would have Leiter and Kelly in that series. Doing my best math. In fact, Kelly would start the last game of the year if the rotation holds. So it's not over. Now, if you lose the next 6 games, if you lose 3 of them, yeah, you're out. Yeah, it's good night. I mean, the Rangers will finish above 500, which is kind of cool. You know, they've only got to win 2 more. They only got to win 3 more games to finish above 500. I think they can do that. But it's not hyperbole to say you really need back-to-back sweeps here. It's really your only hope. I mean, sure, you could win 4 or 5 of them, but it's a 9-game season now. And you're not in full control of your destiny. Some more decent news for the Rangers is that Houston gets to go face Seattle. So it's not that you're rooting for Houston, you're rooting for Seattle to lose. Because I will never root for Houston, ever. I can't do it. Can't bring myself to do it. The only reason I am slightly doing it at this time is because it benefits my team. Because that's the only acceptable reason to cheer for a rival, is if it benefits your team. But the Mariners, who are up 2-0 in the bottom of the 9th right now, so they're probably about to win, which is really cool. Meaning you'll be 5 back of them. Neat. Thank you, Royals. They go to Houston. Then they have Colorado. Oh, crap. They're going to win those games. They got the Dodgers. What you can, and this is kind of how I try to think deeply about these situations. You need San Diego to continue to threaten the Dodgers. Because if the Dodgers are up 4 or 5 that last series, they're going to rest everybody. And you're going to get 0 help from the Dodgers. But if the Padres are, knocking on that door of the the Dodgers are going to get in the playoffs, but you definitely would like to have the division. They're going to be playing for that, so they're not going to be resting their guys. So you are rooting for San Diego a little bit too, in kind of a weird way that affects you way down the road. But you are in a very, very bad spot if you're the Rangers. Not over, but it feels like it. And that sucks because this has been a really fun, weird team. They might shut Seager down. I don't know. You sweep Minnesota, you gain a couple games. You never want to signal to your players that you've given up as a front office. That's why teams are hesitant to sell, even if they're like the Rockies. Because front offices don't like to tell their veteran players that, yeah, we're selling. You guys suck. Chris Young's not going to do that. I doubt he would. I could see them just trying to I could see him shutting down DeGrom under the guise of he's lost effectiveness due to arm fatigue. Now, if you make the playoffs, you better inject some stuff in that arm, DeGrom, because you're going to be pitching. because we're going to need you. But the postseason feels like a far-fetched pipe dream right now. And it hurts because, and I think it's still my pinned tweet. And actually, I posted it at the Diamondback game I went to, which was the game they came back and won on a walk-off. I posted it when we went down 6-1, I think. Or I think it was when it was 6-1. And I just said, I know we have a World Series, and I will always be forever grateful that we have that. And of course, like my dad always told me, when we're going to win one, we're just going to say, I want another one. We tell God, just one, please, just one, please, just one. And you get one, you're like, I want another. Yeah, success. What success does to you. But it's not even that. I just want my team to be competitive again. Out of my 21 years of life, I'm not going to count 04. I was there for half a season. I was a trade. Hey, Dad, I was a trade deadline acquisition for the Rangers that year. I was a trade deadline acquisition that season, so I don't really count that year. But starting in 05, a lot of baseball seasons. Seen a lot. Out of all those seasons, how many years has my team actually been competitive? 10, 11, 12 kind of, 13 kinda, 15, 16, 23. 7 years. You'd think, man, that's pretty good. Well, let me explain to you something. In those 7 years, 2 of them, I don't really count. Yeah, I did bring the 04 Red Sox good luck. I will claim that. But I've only seen this team really because 12, you were a wild card team. You had a huge collapse. It wasn't a fun year. Hamilton dropped the ball in Oakland. Like, it wasn't fun. 13, same. You had played a game it was either a game 162 or a game 163, and you lost. Matt Moore just shoved it down your throats that game. He shoved. So I haven't really seen my team be competitive. 10 and 11, I was 6 and 7 years old. I don't really remember those years. I have kind of blurry, hazy memories of being at some of the games. 15 and 16 was like the first 2 years I was like watching. And of course, we didn't have cable those years, of course. My luck. But I was still following on the radio. I was still following, every game. Me and my dad, just kind of our routine was, now during the summer, it was different. But like when school was in session, right, he's waking up for work. I'm waking up for school. And we're talking about the game last night, especially if it was a West Coast game. I'd fall asleep listening to the game. We talk, hey, it was great. It was a great game last night. Or, they really blew that one, we're getting dressed and getting ready. But then 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, I know. We lost the wild card game. It was Joe Saunders. I'm talking about the game 162-3, whatever, against the Rays in 2013, which was Matt Moore. If I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I am like 99% sure it was Matt Moore. So again, 17 through 21, bad teams. Mediocre at best. Average maybe at best. They were all below 500, so I can't really say average. And then 22, there was optimism, but then the lockout and Seager and Simeon got off the slow starts, and it was a really weird team. And then 23, finally, I get to see my team be competitive this year. We got DeGrom, Evaldi, Bochy, the hitters that we signed last season. We got a team this year, boys. And then we made a run, and you won a World Series. You added Chapman. You added Scherzer. At the deadline, you added Montgomery. Stratton. I don't want to forget about Stratton.
You added those guys to the deadline, and you went and you won a World Series. And then last year was just such a dud of a year. But it was kind of, beer goggles a little bit, I guess you could say, because, well, we were coming off of World Series wins. I didn't care. And I said, this is the year. I told everyone at church. I told everyone, told my dad, told all my friends. I think I said it on the show. 2024, I don't care what happens. We can go 0-162. I don't care. We just won a World Series. But 2025, that's the year that we need, the expectations come back. Because now it's starting to wear off. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been 2 years. This November, what was it, November 1st? 2023? It's going to be 2 years since that day. 2 years since that day. So the expectations have come back for the Rangers. The desire to win has come back. And this year was a colossal wet fart of a season. As my dad would say, they took a big crap and they fell right back in it. And every time that they would just they'd pull you in like, come on. Like they're, the Sam Kinison joke. Come on, I wouldn't lie to you again. And then, you just, it's like, then they lied. This is what this Houston series felt like. It felt like just another moment of we got excited, we believed for just a little bit, just a little belief that this team could win, and then pulled the rug out from under us again. As the great urinating tree on YouTube would say, for the Mariners, we got kicked in the balls by the Rangers again. And that sucks. And, voice crack. Wow, that was bad. that was really bad. That was a bad one. If anyone that's watching, I see there are people watching. If I'm telling lies about how Rangers fans feel free. Because this year sucked. It's had momentary moments, momentary glimpses of success and glory and joy just to get, punched in the groin again. And yes, I did say that, Bryce, because that's the perfect way to describe this Ranger season. One giant, colossal wet fart. And then to add some detail to that analogy, it's like you're running to the bathroom and you think, I'm gonna get there. It's gonna be okay. You have that belief, and then crap. Literally. That's the analogy of this Ranger season. Sorry if you were eating food and watching this show, because you probably just put down whatever you're eating, and I'm really sorry. But that is the best description I can give of how I feel about this Ranger season. And we're going into the off season. And Dad, I might actually have you on the show to talk about what you want out of the off season. I do want to wait and see what Bochy is going to do. But I'm just frustrated. And Chris Young is. I love it when people are like, Chris Young's the worst GM. You think he's waking up going, how can I make this team worse? How can I screw it up today? How can I, make all the wrong decisions? No, he's trying his best. And he signed guys that, look, I remember, I love Rangers fans trying to gaslight people. Again, voice crack, sorry. I love the gaslighting of why'd we sign Jock Peterson? It was a terrible signing. I remember everyone loving it when we signed him. I remember before we signed him and everyone saying, well, you've had a really good offseason. You re-signed Eovaldi, right? You brought in some bullpen pieces. Now all you need is one more. You're probably, you brought in Jake Burger. You brought in Kyle Higashioka. you're just kind of you're one guy away. You need one more kind of big, bat in that lineup. And everyone was circling Jock Peterson's name. It was a terrible circle. Circling Peterson's name. And boom. You signed him, and we were all ecstatic. And guess who's going to be back next season? Barring a salary dump. And I think they're going to keep him because he's been playing really well since his injury. If he can just continue this success, he'll have a fine year next year. Bryce also means... Mom, are you watching on Bryce's account? That's pretty funny. Because it just says Life of Bryce on the chat down here. I have my phone on the broadcast so that I can, read. Well, yes, Mom, I did say that. To be fair, you have been typing like Bryce would type. So... can't really blame me for having that belief. But it's just been terrible. And you're going into 2026. It's not over. You're not mathematically eliminated. And until that happens, I refuse to look at 2026. But once the second that happens, it's going to be all right. Let's see what Bochy does. Let's see, who comes back. It's just frustrating. And I think that Chris Young wants to win, and I think he's going to take some drastic measures. I know the team has been very disappointed in there are three players that I think the team has been heavily disappointed in. And that's Josh Young, Adolis Garcia, and Jonah Heim. Now, Heim's a little bit easier to keep because of his defense. Same with Garcia, and actually same with Josh Young. All three are great defenders. But Young's bat has been so inconsistent this season. So is Adolis's. Heim, his body language looks awful. Jamie Newberg has really highlighted it, and I agree. It just looks terrible. He looks so uninterested. And it sucks because he's the guy that caught the final out. And he'll always be that to Rangers fans. But what he's become is just not what we need. So I'm very interested to see how this team... Berger's been great this year. He's been hurt. So, I feel really confident that CY is going to find some pieces. And you're right, Chase, if Bochy does retire, which I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, to be honest, because I could see him saying, I've had enough of this crap. And so I'm going to, I've had enough of this crap. And so I'm going to retire. And then I could also see him, the reason that what's happened is somebody attempted to walk in and I think heard me talking and stopped walking in. So I'm sorry for that kind of weird pause. Skip Schumacher will be the manager if Bochy retires. I don't think he will. I am of the belief that he's going to come back for one more year and he's going to say that next year is my last year. I'm done after this year. I'm getting old. And I think for him, it was just, I think he wanted to come back and, he got that. I think, he saw, the story. He saw Mick Jagger doing the concert thinking, man, he's older than I am and he's doing, why did I retire? And, he can manage for a couple more years. Who knows? But I think it's going to be a one-year kind of basis right now where it's just going to be, CUI is going to always have a contingency. It was Will Venable. Now it's Skip Schumacher. And it'll be interesting to see, what else happens from there. But moving on, I think, from the Rangers. Because they're just not, I feel like I'm circling back here to the same old talking points of it's just frustrating. And, when we talk next week, we'll know. Next Thursday will be, you got Miami, then Minnesota. I thought it was Minnesota, Miami. You got Miami coming in tomorrow. Next week, next Thursday, will be Minnesota at 1:35. So the game will be happening while we're live. You will probably know then because that will be the last game at home before you play 3 more. You'll have 3 more after that. So you'll know by next week whether or not you're in or not. And so I don't like that thought. That thought's a little scary to know that the next time you see me, the next time you see Chase, it's that's not a fun thought
to be honest with you. So now, to move on to the rest of baseball, the Phillies clinched the NL East. Good for them. No one else has clinched the division yet, to my knowledge. No, because the Cubs are still mathematically in the race for the Central. But the Phillies, 12 up over the Mets. They currently have the second best record in the National League with behind the Brewers at 93 wins. They have 91. The Phillies do. Cleveland's not out of the AL Central race. Only 3.5 back of the Tigers. New York's only 3.5 back of Toronto. Houston and Seattle are tied, seeing as how Seattle won 2-0. So they're now tied for the division. You're 5 back of both of them. So basically, whoever wins this next series between the two is who you're rooting against. Or rooting for, because whoever wins it. So whoever wins the first game, I'm rooting for a sweep so that team keeps losing. But if they trade wins, then you're screwed. The Mets are not out of the wild card race. Looking at the AL, we've talked about the AL, the NL. Dodgers and Padres are still fighting for the division. The Cubs have clinched a playoff berth as they're 9.5 over the Diamondbacks. Right now, the wild card is Cubs, Padres, Mets, which kind of feels like where it's going to be. Diamondbacks are 2 out. Reds are 2.5, so are the Giants. The Giants were surging and then lost, I think, 4 straight. So they kind of just knocked themselves out of the playoff race. The Reds under Tito Francona are still kind of in it. So are the Diamondbacks, but it kind of feels like it's going to be, as long as everything holds, if the Mets can right the ship. And this is what's crazy about the National League. We said it was a National League year. If you look at like the wild card teams right now, so right now actually this is really interesting. I guess Seattle has the tiebreaker. No, never mind. This is insane. The Yankees, Astros, and the Mariners are in the wild card race. The Red Sox have officially been knocked out of that. They're now the first team out. They're a game behind both Seattle and Houston. Wow. It's gonna get crazy. But like, you look at the Rangers at 79 and 74, we have the same record the Mets. If we were in the National League, we would be tied for the last wild card spot. That's what I hate about this. Is like we're getting penalized because we're in the wrong league. I know it's and it's not an excuse or a cop out or anything else. It's just it's a little frustrating. Before I call Chase, because Chase, I know you're watching. Before I call you, I am going to give my thoughts on the Cowboys-Bears game from a film perspective. Been grinding the tape this week, as I do every week. And I'll go and say right now I'm picking the Cowboys, and I'll explain why. And then I'm going to talk about what I've seen, how I think we're going to attack them, and then I'm going to call you, and then we'll get your predictions, and we'll get out of here. So we'll start with the Bears on defense. They're banged up. I think you're going to have a lot of success. I actually don't even know who's starting for them at corner right now, because I know Jalen Johnson, he's out. Their other corners, they're all out. Like, they're really banged up in their secondary. So I feel really confident that we can take advantage of that. I think you're going to have no problems really putting up 30 points on these guys. The part of their team that scares me is the offense. Their offense is pretty darn good. Ben Johnson, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, Colson Loveland was 9th overall pick. So, as I kind of get everything set up here, I feel really good about I feel really good about this team. I feel really good about where we are going into this game. Their offense is just a little scary. They do a good job of attacking the seams, which is Flus. You can't run cover 3 or cover 2. They're going to beat it. Obviously, the Giant game, crazy game. Insane game. Absolutely insane. Brandon Aubrey, 64-yarder to tie it.
Brandon Aubrey was it 48-yarder to win it. First kicker in the NFL history to make the game tying kick with 0 seconds on the clock in regulation, and the game winning kick with 0 seconds on the clock in overtime. First time that's happened. Best player on the team, maybe. Yeah. He's definitely the best kicker in the league. So at least you have that. I thought the O-line played fine. Still some things to clean up there. Obviously, the big news, Cooper Beebe. Look, you're never going to avoid injuries. I think Vince Lombardi, he talked about everyone thinks they can avoid injuries, but no one can. And so every team. So it sucks, but if there's one if there's one position that gets hurt and you feel like we can be okay, not as good but okay, it's center. Because I think Brock Hoffman's a decent player. I think he'd be an above average starter for any other team. It's just that Cooper Beebe has like Pro Bowl potential. He's going to be out for a substantial amount of time. He fractured something in his foot. So that sucks. But you feel okay with Brock in there. Definitely feel like he's better than Tyler Biadasz was. So, you have that. Terrence Steele didn't play great again. Tyler Booker had a good game. So did Tyler Smith. Guyton looked better. He's making progress. And you have to wonder, is he still healthy from the knee? Did he come back? Did he kind of push it to get back on the field? He's like, he's not fully healthy, but he played better. Javonte Williams played great. George Pickens played great. Better effort from him. Defensively, James Houston, he needs to get more reps. Kenneth Murray played better. I do want to say after watching tape that the biggest problem you had on defense, obviously secondary, but the problem that you were having, it wasn't that the coverage was bad. That may sound weird. The guys didn't look comfortable. You've got Donovan Wilson playing single high. That's never a good time because he's not a single high safety. He's a box safety. You want him playing downhill, not center field. That's what we have Malik Hooker for. But Eberflus continued to try to put somebody, Coach Eberflus does not put his players in a great position to succeed. At least he didn't in that game. You don't really have zone corners. Elam and Diggs are more man-to-man corners. And that's what they're more accustomed to. Now, Zimmer ran more zone stuff last year. I think it was 71% zone. But Flus is running 100% zone. 100% he's running zone. He's not running any man coverage. He's the only, we're the only defense that's doing that. And teams are just picking that apart because they know what you're in. You have to throw in man coverage. You can't just, expect to run zone 100% of the time and not, and because there's only so many zone coverages. And he's primarily cover 2, cover 3. Attack the seams. That's what you do against those 2 coverages. Attack the seams. It's harder to attack the boundaries, and it's hard to attack, outside the hashes. But you get those seams, you get them in the hashes, you get those routes, man, you can attack them. And then you pair that with a veteran quarterback, and then you also add, in Ren Russ, but then you also add the fact that you're watching the players, and they just don't know who to take. I mean, you're watching these guys, and they just don't know who to take. Diggs is communicating. He thinks that Dono's taking him. Dono thinks Diggs is taking him, and then he's wide open. Your guys just don't look comfortable in the coverages you're asking them to run. Your guys don't look comfortable. I mean, there was one look, and you're not disguising it either. It's not like he's hiding what he's doing, and then it's like, oh, it's cover 3, crap. No. There was a look that we gave early in the game. You get saved by the fact that, I think it was James Houston's sack. You get saved by that because you ran the most obvious-looking cover 3 ever. It took me less than 1 second to realize it was cover 3. No one had even moved yet. I went, yeah, cover 3. I can see it right here. It's easy. And that's frustrating because that's not good. That's never a good position to be at when a 21-year-old podcaster can see what you're running. Like that. I mean, that's all it took for me to go, oh, it's cover 3. So Flus is going to have to try to throw some disguises. Now, Caleb Williams is known to rush decisions. He's known to make bad decisions. I think you can beat him. I think you can fool him. You can't fool Russell Wilson. He's seen every zone coverage you can throw at him. Been around a long time. Caleb's still a young guy. You know, I think you can really, really take advantage of that. And he's gonna have Flus is gonna have to disguise his stuff. He's gonna have to. I think again, I'm picking the Cowboys. I think you're a better team, but I think you're gonna have more success against this offense simply because I don't trust Caleb to read the zones, the zone drops like I do Russ. But we'll see. Obviously, there's just things you got to clean up. I think if they if the secondary communicated better, they did a great job against Philadelphia. They communicated very well against Philadelphia. I think in this game, they were not communicating the coverages. The guys just weren't sure of who to take. I kept seeing people saying they're running zone match, which zone match is basically if a receiver enters your zone, you take him. It becomes man coverage. And I'm like, if they're running match, someone needs to tell the players because clearly they don't know they're running match because they're not taking the guy. They're passing him off to the next guy. But that other guy is going to somebody else because he thinks the first guy had him. And then now Robinson, Neighbors, they're just wide open. So some things you got to clean up, but look for Chicago to attack the seams. Look for Chicago to attack the middle of the field. Look for them to use a lot of play action to set up that middle of the field because, if you watch several of those plays the Giants ran, they'd run play action, and Sanborn, Murray, and Clark would run up and then immediately have to, full backpedal. And they're just not getting there in time. And thankfully, Russ wasn't getting the ball to the guy. It happened a couple times where our linebackers would run up to stop the run, go, oh, crap, it's a pass, fly backwards, and they just have no clue. There was one play where that happened, and you have 3 secondary defenders completely with their back turned to the quarterback because they're not in their correct zone. One of the basic, and if I had Donnell here, he'd tell you, one of the basic principles of zone coverage is keep your eyes on the quarterback. So when you have 3 guys in your secondary that have their eyes on the end zone and the back of their helmet facing Russell Wilson, that's not not good. Just not. So I'm about to call Chase, get his predictions, get his thoughts on the Cowboy game. Those were my thoughts. I think you won the game. Great. Move on. Figure out how to fix the things you have to fix. And Flus should, and I know Chase, hope you're watching, Flus should be fired. No, bro, come on. I know you're not serious with that. No, of course not. Now, if we get to the end of the year and Flus is still getting lit up for, 37 points, because the guys aren't communicating the zone and he's still running zone 100% of the time, then yeah, I would agree. He needs to go. But after week 2, no. So, all right. We're going to call Chase.
Hello.
Now I'm with my co-host, Chase Olschwinger. There we go.
I'm here in spirit. I hope everybody was able to see my spirit there.
Were you hearing what I was saying, at least about the Cowboys?
Yes, and then before you called me is when you were talking about when I wanted Eberflus fired, and yes, that was satire. I did not mean that. Good. I was just frustrated in the moment.
Because I've heard you give reactions like that to things, and you're being 100% serious.
Yeah, no, not there.
Flus is I think you would agree with me. I wish you still lived at the house because then you could come and watch the game tapes with me. But you'll see there was I'm gonna clip a couple. I'm gonna start clipping stuff and posting them on my Twitter. Just kind of show everybody what I'm seeing. Chase, I'm not kidding. There was a play where Donovan Wilson, I think Kyer Elam and somebody else, because they fell for the play action, were running to get to their zone, and their backs were turned to Russ, so they have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
So and just from, I'm not exactly Bill Belichick over here, but I think I know football pretty well. it looks like the players weren't communicating, and people were quick to blame Donovan Wilson for those big plays. The number one, he's being asked to play single high. He's not a single high safety. Even average football fans know that. He's a strong safety. He plays in the box. He plays downhill, not back. And he looks so lost in zone. He has no idea where he's going. He has no idea what he's doing.
He did get the game-winning interception. So
he did. All right, so Chase, your thoughts on the Cowboy game and the upcoming Bears game?
Yeah. I mean, what a roller coaster of a game. I mean, at multiple different times in the fourth quarter, I thought we won, I thought we lost, I thought we won, I thought we lost. So just an absolute huge relief once Aubrey was able to knock down the 46-yarder just to end the game. But yeah, no, it was definitely a frustrating game defensively because you also, I mean, my dad kept saying every time Dak went out there to, as we went down and Dad's like, all right, $60 million man, go win us the game. And Dak was doing his job, and I felt terrible for the offense because the defense was letting them down. But I'm glad they pulled through, not only just for Dak's sake, just for, my team winning a game. No, I think a lot of the problems that we're seeing defensively are on injuries. I mean, you have, you're probably your best linebacker, and by probably easily your best linebacker, DeMarvion Overshown, who's out. And then DaRon Bland, who missed last game. And it looks like when Bland is on the field, it's a completely different defense comparing the games from Philly and New York. So it looks like Bland's the most important piece that you're missing.
Well, I do want to make a comment about that.
Yeah.
Reddick Stewart actually played really well.
Oh no, I noticed him. It was more just like, wow, Bland's on the field. You allow the world champions to score 24 and struggle when he's not on the field. The Giants score 37 points with ease.
I don't know if it's that black and white because Stewart was with Chicago last year. Flus.
Yeah, he came. Yeah,
Flus asks his corners to tackle. It's a really big thing for his defense, especially with the run fit, especially on outside run fits. Especially the slot corner, he needs a guy that can tackle. Really does that. He had a couple tackles, I think, in that game where he was playing run fit.
Yeah, no, I noticed him.
I think he played fine. And then, of course, we're missing third-round rookie, first-round graded from yours truly, Savone Revel, who Dan Graziano writes he'll be back in week 5. I don't think so. I think week 7. Because because of the IR, he has to be off for the first 4 weeks. But that's 4 weeks until he can practice.
Right.
So I think they're going to want to practice him for 2 weeks and then practice him a third week before that week 7 game. And because he's eligible to start practicing after week 4. So that week leading up to week 5, the week leading up to week 6, I don't think they start him. Maybe they hey, we're going to play you 25% of the snaps in week 6 just to get you familiar with the NFL. And then we're going to kind of start throwing you out there and get in week 7. If we can get Diggs, Bland, and Revel out there, I think that's a great corner trio. And obviously, I'm banking on Revel being what he was at East Carolina, but obviously, I'm gonna stick by my analysis. I'm not gonna abandon that if we're never seeing him. So,
yeah, no, obviously, I think the most important thing is that he's able to get on the field and be 100%. I mean, obviously, it'll take time for him to develop his game in the NFL. So obviously, I just want him to use this, however many games he ends up playing this year as a learning process, and so he's able to come in next year, hopefully fully healthy and ready to go. But moving forward to the Bears game, yeah, like you said, I'm worried because of I know Ben Johnson was with the Lions, and Lions are obviously a different team compared to the Bears. But Ben Johnson ran circles around us, and he's got all the weapons in the world, whether he's in Detroit or Chicago, to do it again. And the way the defense looked last week, it's obviously very nerve-wracking because, like you said, I think the Cowboys are a better team. I don't think anybody's questioning that. But from what we saw defensively and what we know the Bears have offensively, I think it frightens people a little bit because if the Giants can put up 37, what are the Bears going to be able to do? Well, not only with more pieces, but with Ben Johnson as their head coach and their play caller.
You're also forgetting that Caleb Williams is our quarterback. And while Caleb
yeah, I
Williams
know,
and
yeah,
while
he's
Caleb
not-
and while Caleb Williams is capable of some of the greatest throws you're ever going to see from a quarterback, some of the greatest
Yeah.
plays, consistently, he's not that good. He's exactly what I was
No.
worried he was going to be coming out of college, which is he's going to make, if he makes 10 plays, 3 of them will be the most spectacular football plays you've ever seen, and 7 of them will be average to below average average at best. And he's never going to be successful because of it. Some more Cowboys good news. Bland still has not practiced, but Diggs was a full participant after having an illness. Guyton, who was limited in Wednesday with a shoulder, he was full. But the big one, Kevontae Turpin, who was limited in Wednesday's walkthroughs with a neck injury,
I think I
full-
lost you. What'd you say?
he was a full participant today.
Who was that?
Turpin.
Oh, good.
So it sounds like he is going to play. But with Caleb, the biggest thing I also noticed is that when he's in a clean pocket, he might not make the best reads, but he can still deliver a football. When they got pressure on him, and their offensive line, look, Joe Thuney I think is pretty good. Darnell Wright can hold his own, but Jonah Jackson at right guard, Drew Dahlman at center, and especially Braxton Jones at left tackle are all three. Like I think Kenny Clark and Osa can have a big game against that right guard and center. And I really think that the edges can have some success against Braxton Jones, their left tackle. Once he gets latched, he's pretty good, but he struggles to get latched. He's a grabber. He doesn't handle power well. He doesn't handle speed well. He's not that great. Which brings us to the last bit of Cowboy news before we get to the predictions. Jadeveon Clowney, officially a Dallas Cowboy. Apparently, he was signed. And delivered before the game. Jerry decided to make it a spectacle after the game, as Jerry usually does. I like it. You watch him in 2024, he still has some juice left. He's not Micah Parsons. Not going to be Micah Parsons. He's not first overall pick Jadeveon Clowney from 2014, but he's still a pretty darn good player. He can play. He's kind of like Tank Lawrence. Plays run really well, can rush the passer, high effort player, and he's a vet. Drafted the same year as Zach Martin to give you some idea of kind of how long he's been in the league. So. And you've got some young edges in Ezeraku and Marshawn Elam, so I'm looking for him to maybe help those guys out too. Great veteran leader. He's just kind of we're signing a bounty hunter, basically is what we're doing.
I hope it doesn't. Yeah, hopefully it's not a signing that hurts in any way.
No, I severely doubt it will. But Chase, let's get to the predictions. Tonight.
Let me know how we did this past week.
We both went 14-2.
Wow, how about that?
We had a great week of predictions.
Maybe
the two that we missed.
An easy week.
Panthers, the two that we missed. Broncos, Colts. So some screwy crap there. And then we missed on the Seahawks, Steelers because we kind of overinflated the Steelers, I think. But this week, I anticipate significantly more disagreements because there's so many quarterbacks that are hurt right now.
Yeah.
There's so so it's just kind of weird. And I want to make a note, and yes, I'm making an excuse for myself, sue me. It's going to be really hard to predict right now because I don't know how to grade backup quarterbacks. They might look really great. They might look really bad. I have no clue. But let's get into it. Dolphins, Bills, Chase. Pretty easy one to start off.
Yeah, give me the Dolphins. I think an upset's happening tonight.
No, you said it. No. I'm hanging up. You said it.
Give me the Bills.
All right. Bengals at Vikings.
I am going to take, the battle of Wentz versus Browning. You know what? Give me the Vikings.
First disagreement. I'm taking the Bengals. I do not trust Carson.
I'm going based off of defense here, and I think the Vikings have a better defense. I think Brian Flores calls a better defensive game.
You also have Kevin O'Connell, but I just have zero trust in Carson Wentz, and I don't think
I'm going to take Minnesota here. And a good one.
I don't think I can be blamed for having zero trust in Carson Wentz.
Eagles. I don't blame you.
Eagles at Rams, and funny enough, I had baseball in the mind when I was doing this, and I wrote Rams at Phillies. So Rams at Eagles.
Look, Eagles are playing with some fire. I mean, Hurts is. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's getting a lot of crap right now for barely passing over 100 yards with that team.
He wins. But, that's the only thing he does.
Oh no, he wins. He wins, and he's a winning quarterback. So you give him all the respect. But I'm going to take the Eagles here in a good game, though. In a good game for sure.
All right, here we go. Falcons at Panthers.
I'm going to take the Falcons.
I am too. Packers at Browns.
I'm going to take the Packers. I don't think the Packers lose the game this year.
Just our luck. Texans at Jaguars.
Give me the Jaguars.
And I figured you were going to take them. Second disagreement, as I'm taking the Texans. Trevor Lawrence
Texans are due for a bounce back. They just look
Trevor
a little
Lawrence
weird right now.
has been so bad this year.
Well, Stroud hasn't been much better.
He has no time I could block for him. Steelers at Patriots. I feel a third disagreement coming here.
Well, no, because I'm going with the Patriots here.
I am too.
Yeah, I'm going. I think if it was in Pittsburgh, I'd go Pittsburgh.
I think they
But I
lead
like
the
that.
league in sacks right now, and that's like the one
Who?
thing. The Patriots. That's like the one thing that you can do is get pressure on Rodgers because he can't move.
Yeah, Yeah.
Jets at Buccaneers. Pretty easy one right there.
Buccaneers.
Why is my pen like? Why does it do this? Okay. Colts at Titans.
Give me the Colts.
Me too. Raiders at
Good for Daniel Jones, by the way. Good for Daniel Jones.
Raiders at Commanders. Remember, no Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, no, I know Jaden looks to be out, but I'm still going to take Washington here.
And there is our third disagreement.
Mariota is a very capable backup quarterback.
I think Gino's going to have a bounce back game. Chargers.
I hope you're right for
Broncos.
the NFC East sake.
Broncos at Chargers.
Chargers.
I agree.
Looking like a juggernaut.
It's fun because it's like, where do you go with the team that you think is better on roster, or do you think you go with the team that's better in record?
Yeah,
Saints.
no, I think the Chargers look great.
I agree. Saints at Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Agree. My pen does not work. It doesn't like write when I do the C. I can write everything else, and it's fine. I try to draw the C, and it. Look at this.
Let me go back to the stream.
Cardinals at 49ers.
Cardinals at 49ers.
You're gonna go
Both teams
49ers?
2-0. Huh?
You're going 49ers?
No, I'm going Cardinals, actually.
And we have our fourth disagreement.
All right.
And the stream is coming over the mic, by the way. Cowboys at Bears. I've already announced I'm going Cowboys. Like, look,
Yeah, I'm gonna take Cowboys as here just for
you can
any
see
hope
me.
of a defensive improvement.
There may be a delay. I'm showing it right now. I've scribbled to get the pen to work, but then when I do the C, it like the back of the C, like the part where it curves, doesn't come in on the piece of paper, and so I have to redraw over it, and it looks like I'm a kindergartner. You're going Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Cowboys, and for any hope of an improvement defensively,
Chiefs at Giants. Pretty confident you're going to say the Chiefs here.
I am going to take the Chiefs. But hey, Chiefs 0-2 for the first time in the history
It's
of Patrick
glorious.
Mahomes.
I just want to say,
Giants obviously look good. last
people
week.
don't like the Patriots. They didn't like the Patriots. But the Chiefs are just so unlikable, Chase. I don't know if you
I
saw.
like Mahomes.
I don't know if
Like,
you
I like
saw.
Mahomes.
No. They are such an unlikable team. Did you see what they did pregame?
No.
They wore shirts that said "Free 4." And this isn't like Rashee Rice.
3-4. Oh, for Rashid. Why?
Ladies and gentlemen, I look, and this isn't like a bit that we're doing. I'm not like I'm actually angry at this. This man was going to. He pled guilty. Not pleaded. He pled guilty to 2 felony charges. Guilty. He drove recklessly. He was street racing, I think on I-35.
Yeah.
At 119 miles an hour, he injured somebody. The only difference between him and Henry Ruggs is the person died. That's it. That's all that separated them. They did the exact same things, except Ruggs was unfortunate enough to have the woman, then she died.
Ruggs is also intoxicated, I believe, and going 45 miles per hour faster, which doesn't disclaim it's
No. He was going, I think, like 127, and he was going like 8 over.
No, Ruggs is like 156.
Was he? Still, I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's the same situation. You were driving recklessly, speeding, and that's putting it
Yeah.
lightly.
There we go.
And the only difference between what you did was the person that you hit didn't die. The only reason that
Yeah.
you're not in prison for longer is the person lived.
Yep.
And
You are wearing T-shirts for this guy saying "free him." It's despicable. There's no defense for it. It's. I don't care if he's your teammate. I was friends. All my teammates. Do you think I agreed with everything that my teammates did or all their opinions or no? And of course I'm going to defend my teammates. I get it. But to wear shirts that say "free him," free him from what? His own actions? The consequences of his actions? He only got away with it because he's rich. And he was able to just pay a large fine, spend a few days in jail, get out. He got a laughable 6-game suspension. He should have been suspended for a full season. Like, it's just, and you're saying free him. It's such unlikable behavior. The Patriots were unlikable because they were accused of cheating and because they won. The Chiefs are hated because they're just like a bad culture full of like bad
And they
people.
win.
Anyway, my little rant's over. Lions at Ravens. Monday Night Football.
Gonna be a good one, but I'm gonna take Baltimore here.
I am too. The only reason is because they're at home. So 4 disagreements this week. So either we're gonna come out tied or
Some
someone.
ground, yeah.
So either we come out tied from this or someone's up big.
We're still tied, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we've only disagreed twice.
We
and we
split
them.
the first week.
Yeah,
and then
we
we had
didn't-
all the same.
No disagreements last week. So we got 4 this week. So either we're tied again, 2-2 in the disagreements, or someone's up 3-1 or 4-0.
Yep.
So it's a big deal. So, ladies and gentlemen, this episode did kind of drag on a little bit longer, but I had a lot to say about the Rangers and I had a lot to say about the Cowboys. Hey, when you watch as much film as I do, I want to talk about what I watched, and I don't have like a separate show to talk about it, so I have to just do it here. Chase, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and hang up on you.
Yeah, no worries, and I will hopefully be back in the studio next week.
Cool. There goes Chase Olschwanger, co-host of the show. We're gonna go and just disconnect my phone from that. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be back here next week, talk about the Rangers, are we screwed or not? And then obviously the fallout from the Cowboys Week 3 matchup in Chicago and the pivotal Week 4 matchup against the Green Bay Packers and Micah Parsons. I'll see you guys next week, or I guess we will see